Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a review for you of this little guy right here. This is the Vario 1918 movement, 1918 trench watch. Very interesting piece. And first off, though, I want to thank Vario for sending this guy along. That is, of course, different from Wario in that it is not Mario's evil brother. This is a watch company based out of Singapore. They reached out to me, said, "Hey Nick, we got this little trench-style watch. You interested?" I took one look, said, "Yeah, that's kind of cool. Sure, send it along." But I told him, as always, I sent him my full disclaimer on my website. Told him I'm going to talk about the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly. Might be a gem, might be junk. They did still send it along. Nonetheless, we do have to assume this is the very best quality controlled one of these guys ever, and I'm doing my best not to let that affect the nature or the quality of my review. Next thing, let's do some size comparison, or measurement in this case. What we're going to see is this is actually deceptively small. This looks like a pretty reasonably big watch, but in a lot of ways, it really isn't. What we see here is it's coming in right around 37 millimeters on the overall width here. The face of the watch is closer to about 30 millimeters. So it's a relatively big face. The lug-to-lug distance here, I'll go ahead and measure that. We are looking at right around 43, 44 millimeters. So it's not a very long watch in that way, which is nice. The thickness on this guy, if you measure it with the bunt strap back on there, we are coming in around 14 millimeters. And if we take if we don't account for that, if you put it on a different strap, you're coming in a little bit closer to 11 or 12 millimeters. So it's not huge, right? That absolutely works. And then actually the width of the bunt strap part on it is still only 39 millimeters. So it is a pretty reasonably sized watch. Next thing, what the heck's Vario? Well, Vario is a Singaporean brand. I gather it's one person and his partner who've been working together on this one for a while now. That's a beautiful thing. And they are, this is their first, well, I'm sorry, they've got some other watches on their website. This is certainly the most interesting of them, at least of the ones I saw there. And there are a bunch of different variations of this, I guess, variations of this, right? This is the white dial with white lume version. There are white dial with the orangey lume. There's black dials. There's blue dials. You got a whole bunch of different versions here. And so there is that. Then one other weird little thing that went on, this actual background strap here, I believe they sent me the cinnamon strap to start with. This is a little bit darker than it came from the factory. The reason for that is I was actually putting some treatment on my boots, the Chrome Excel style leather. That treatment has a little bit of dye, and I was wearing this watch. I didn't even think twice about it, and then because most of the watch straps I wear are this color, and I turned out I got a little bit of that on there. That left a couple of little spots, so what I did is I just treated the rest of the watch. As a result, this strap got a little bit darker than it is from the factory, so do keep in mind that this isn't exactly the factory strap color. This is probably a little closer to their mahogany now, but nonetheless, there is that. Still pretty attractive, and I don't see it as having been a major problem. So there is that. Let's go ahead and jump into the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly of this very interesting watch. So on the good side, to start with, this is a Miyota 82S5 watch. So what we're going to see here is it's got a couple of good features to it. It is a mechanical watch. So there are little spinny gears in this doing everything, although it is a non-transparent case back, so you won't be able to tell that. It is a hacking movement, which means if I pull the crown out, the second hand stops, which lets me set the time very exactly. It is also hand windable, so if I put the crown at the first position and turn, it's winding the watch, but you can also use it. It's an automatic watch. It's got a weight in there that will spin and wind the watch as you're wearing it. That's nice. There is no date on here. There is a 42-hour power reserve, so you take it off your wrist, it'll stop running in about 42 hours. It's about par for mechanical watches. The movement speed here is, it's a 6 hertz movement, so you get about 3 ticks a second. It is, and yes, I know that that's half of that. I understand what hertz is, I'd like to assure you. And this is not, I'm going to be real, it's not a high-end movement, right? Miyota 82S5 can be found in watches half the price, but at the same time, one of the nice things about it from a right-to-repair perspective is that this is very easy to replace, right? There's nothing you can do to this watch that would break it beyond, a $60 new movement. And so that can be a very nice thing, and most watchmakers would be able to work on it. So that's nice. Next thing, strap on this guy, I actually like a lot. This is a bunt-style strap. So you get the Bund, I suppose. I'm not quite sure. Probably the German Bund. But anyways, it's a trench-style strap. What you see here is there is one leather piece in the back here. And then there is the second piece here. And in fact, you could remove this bunt section altogether. I'm not going to, because you actually then need to remove this screw here to get the Bund strap over the back part of it here. But instead, you can leave that on there. And but this is actually a very, very nice strap. It's got good adjustability. It wears nicely, and this isn't too thick right? This back piece here, but it also isn't so thin that it feels super cheapy, right? I feel like they did a very nice job on there. The other thing is that you'll notice that this actually closes using a set of Chicago screws, right? It goes in this side, providing metal studs, and on the back side, it's just a flat head there. And I gotta say, although I was a little bit, like, oh, is this gonna be weird? Yeah, it's a little weird, but I'll go ahead and I'll throw it on my wrist, and my wrist is relatively small. We're looking at about a 6.25-inch wrist here, and you know what? It works pretty well. I'll go ahead and throw that on there. What you're going to see is that this is not bad, right? It's a little weird. It's very much a bracelet with a watch on it, but at the same time, it's kind of cool. It's a little different, right? It's very different than my normal kind of thing. So I do like this strap a lot. Next thing, the size on this guy is quite good. We are looking at a 37mm case size. And in a world, with just every damn watch is gigantic, I love seeing relatively compact watch cases, right? This is amazing. And more people need to be doing 37, 36mm sizes. It's just good, right? This is a really nice size. And with the bunt strap here, it ends up wearing a little bit bigger. So I wouldn't really be that concerned about somebody getting this and feeling like it's disappearing on their wrist. I think for me, it actually, with the bunt, it actually feels rather large. And so I think for a lot of folks, it's going to feel a very normal size, even though the watch itself is relatively small. Next thing, this is using a sub-seconds dial here. I'll zoom you in a little bit so you can see it in detail. What we've got here is on the top, you've got obviously your hour hand, your minute hand. Yes, I swear I can tell the difference between hours and minutes. And then in the bottom here, you've got the seconds hand, which we see also has a very nice little polish to it. And it's rotating around there. It's just a nice, classy little touch. I can't argue with that. It just looks good. And by the way, the handset on the whole looks good. The hands here, you can see, do have a little bit of polish to them, right? It's not like, oh my God, blow you away polish, but at the same time, if you catch the angle right, you do get a little bit of polish on there, so it's not just like a complete black flat paint, right? They've done a really nice job with their hands here, and the cathedral style hands look quite nice. That's good. Next thing, crystal on this guy is a sapphire crystal. It is domed, which actually cuts down on the reflectivity a little bit. It does have some anti-reflective coating, although not so much that you can't see the Nick Shabazz t-shirt available from nickshabazz.com/merch. Oh, is that a plug on the dial? Hold on, let me clean that off real quick. So there's that. And I gotta say, durability-wise, they've done some other nice things. This is a 10-atmosphere water-resistant watch. On this strap, no, it's not. You wouldn't want to go swimming with this bad boy, but at the same time, it is very nice to know that this guy isn't going to be water exposed, I suppose. And it also actually does have a screw-down crown, which is a nice thing. And then finally, the case itself is nicely finished. What we have here are a variety of finishes. We've got relative polish on, for instance, the crown or this little part right around the head here, but then we also have a very satin-looking metal, which there's almost a little bit of blast look to it, right? Then on the backside here, you've got this sort of engraving thing. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see that better. You've got this little engraving thing with a dude from World War I. It says Singapore, 10 atmosphere, stainless steel, 11/11/1918. That's Armistice Day, the end of World War I, and then sapphire. But you've got nice finishing on this case here. I think it is quite nice. You can get a good reflectivity. It's good. So to me, all of that is the good here, is that it's got a nice case finishes. It's got 10 atmosphere water resist, sapphire crystal. I do love the handset a lot here. I like the sub-second dial. It's got a great size, a decent strap, and a movement that is not super high-end, but at the same time, it's a good, solid workhorse. On the great side, the style of this watch is cool, right? You may disagree. If you think this watch is ugly, I tell you what, stop watching now, because there's no way you're going to like it, right? You have to like this guy for the style, but I do. I think this is a really neat-looking watch. Even just the numbers. The typography is pretty awesome, although that's a G. Though that's a G. I'm just going to be real with you here. That 100% is a G. But I like the font. I like the hands. I like the bund strap on it. It's unusual. It's different. There aren't that many watches out there looking like this, right? And you know what? That's what you're buying here. It's a really cool piece. And I think it does look pretty great. So to me, that is the great. It's just got a very, very nice style. On the bad side, I don't particularly love this rear engraving. It's okay, but it's a little busy. Every time you look at it, it takes a moment to kind of orient yourself to what's going on here. And it just kind of, I don't know. For whatever reason, that doesn't do it for me. It's a little bit, I just don't get it. I get that they're leaning pretty hard into the World War I thing here, but it just, with the flowers around the... I don't get it. I just don't get it. But that's fine. That's subjective. You might get it. If you get it, you're going to love it. Great, no problem. Next thing, the rotor on this guy is pretty loud. Now, to be fair, this guy has gotten quieter as I've worn it more. But even still, you can definitely hear that rotor. And there have definitely been times where I've made like a sharp gesture in a quiet room, and you hear as that rotor is going around in there. Not the end of the world, but it's definitely louder than most of the watches, actually than every other watch in my life. And so that's a thing. Next thing, I don't get the red numeral at the very top there. It just doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense to me. It's fine. It looks attractive enough, but I don't quite get it. I wish there were a story there or something like that. Next thing, if we look down at that sub-second dial here, and I'll go ahead and I'll move the minute hand just to get that out of our way. But what we have here is individual marks for every single second here. Thing about that, though, is that, it's a little bit tricky to align yourself to exactly what second you're looking at because the numbered seconds are, not specially marked. It's just the center one under the numeral. But the other thing is, it just ends up making the whole thing from a distance. It just looked like there's a random black ring on it, right? I don't particularly care for the choice to number every single one of those. I think had they done the 5s and the 10s, that would have looked great. And this just ends up adding a bunch of unnecessary darkness to the thing. That's definitely a little detail, but it's a thing. Next thing, this guy on the bunt strap, I've been wearing it mostly that way, but one day I decided, hey, I'll take it off, see how it wears on the normal thing. Thing is, on my relatively small wrist, the big gaps between the edge of the watch here and the bar ended up looking a little bit awkward. It looked a little bit weird. The gap here is relatively large. Maybe it was just purely aesthetic, but for me, I really like this guy a lot better on the bunt, and I thought I was going to prefer it otherwise. So do keep that in mind. It's a little bit weird having these big gaps behind or next to the lugs here when you don't have that leather behind them there. Next thing, the price on this guy is high. We're looking at $370 for this guy. It's not a horrifying price, right? Because it's got a unique style. It's got sapphire crystal. It's got a nice band. The movement's okay, but at the same time, you are up against it. That kind of a price point. Watches with better movements, way better lume. And in the quartz world, I mean, $370 buys you a watch that you could wear for the rest of your life and be perfectly happy with. So this is a watch that I think a lot of folks are going to buy and a lot of folks are going to be fine with, but unfortunately, it feels like there were a couple of little cut corners, and that's a price that makes it hard to cut corners at, right? This doesn't feel like an amazing value. Next thing, this guy has fixed lugs. So what I mean by that is, should I take this off? Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let's see here. Oh, I happen to have a driver right near me here. So if we take this little screw off here, what we're going to see is exactly how this strap works. There is just an extent of wire basically sticking off of this watch. That is the lug here. There's not a spring bar. There's nothing you can pop loose. So any strap that you apply to this guy, you are going to have to make sure that you have that you can loop it around there. And so it works very well. And in fact, they shipped it to me with 2 separate sort of single pass Zulu-ish style straps as well. And those would work fine because you can just kind of thread them right through there. I'm sorry about that. Those will work fine as well. But any strap that you use on this guy has to be able to be kind of looped through there and then secured. I think they did a really nice job with this Chicago screw style thing, but that definitely reduces the number of possible straps out there that could work for the watch. And you're going to want to keep that in mind. If you have a specific strap in mind, you gotta work with the fixed lugs. And otherwise, you're going to have a bad time. So I'm not a huge fan of the fixed lug approach. I see why they did it. It is a classic thing. But it is kind of an annoyance by modern watch person standards. So I'm not a huge fan of that. Then finally, on the bad side, the accuracy on this watch, unfortunately, just was not very good. Putting this guy up on the time graphic here, which will give me an exact, rating basically on it there, we are running, depending on the position, anywhere between +9 seconds per day and +18 seconds per day at different positions. And the thing is, that was at full wind and everything like that. This isn't the end of the world. And I hear the mechanical watch apologists in the chat, oh my God, Nick, come on, that's amazing. In reality, though, you're off by almost a third of a minute every damn day, which means by the end of the week, you're gonna need to reset your watch at least once, and that just doesn't impress me, right? It could be worse, and it could probably be regulated pretty easily, but I just want to see them do better than that, right? At 370 bucks, 18, 20 seconds a day? Nah, I'm not feeling that. I really am not. And 1918 should be the era, not the seconds per day running. So to me, I feel like they should do a little bit better by that. I'm being very picky here, but at the same time, a watch has two functions. It needs to look nice on your wrist and tell you the time, right? And this one is falling down a little in that second one. So to me, at least, all that is the bad is that the accuracy isn't amazing. The fixed lugs are a little annoying. The price is high. The gaps look a little bit off without that bunt plate on there. I don't like the individual second indices in the bottom, making that look like a black ring. The red numerals are a little weird. The rotor is kind of loud, and I don't love the rear engraving. On the ugly front, there is one ugly issue with this watch, and that is, unfortunately, the lume. I'm going to go on ahead and off camera here, charge it with a very powerful flashlight. What we're going to see here is you can see that there is some lume, and in fact, it looks pretty good right now, but even the hour hands are starting to fade already. I'm sorry, the hour indices are starting to fade already, and the hands are not far behind. This is not lume that will reliably last through a night. Frankly, it's not super legible even within an hour of bright exposure. This is very, very weak lume. It's hard for me to express that to you exactly here, and you might be thinking, well, at least you'll be able to see the hands. No, even those fade off pretty quick. This is very, very weak in terms of lume, and honestly, it's probably the most disappointing lume I've seen in a watch over 50 or 60 bucks. It's just not very good. So to me, at least, that is really unfortunate. The lume on this watch is just not good, and it is something that they need to fix. That's just not acceptable. If you're not going to do lume, don't do lume, but if you're going to do it, you got to do it right. And at this price, you got to do it, and you got to do it right. So to me, that's what's ugly. The lume here is just bad. Final conclusion, you know what, this is a really interesting watch, right? Because it's got a reasonable movement. It's got this nice strap to it. It's got a good size, a good dial, good hands, sapphire crystal, water resistance that's very solid, nice case finishing, and a very unique style. Yeah, the rear engraving kind of leaves me a little flat. The rotor's loud, the red numerals a little weird. The small second markings are a little much. The strap really does need to stay bund, or else it's going to be a little bit weird looking. The price is up there. The lugs are very much fixed in place. The accuracy isn't great, and the lume is disappointing. Thing is, as I was doing my reviews, I was writing this up, I went to Vario's website again just to see if there was anything else I should learn, and I think I was double-checking the movement or something like that. Clicked the About Me thing, and I found a bit of information that I think explained everything. I'll go ahead and I'll zoom in on the pretty part here. I quote, armed with his decade of experience in design as an award-winning graphic designer running his own studio along with Judy, I gather the partner, he brings the same dedication to his watches he designs and produces. And to me, that really sums it up, right? The most important part of this watch, the thing that makes this watch unique, the thing that makes this watch stand out 100% is the design. This is a design-first watch. Now, that's not a slur necessarily. It's just a priority, both in terms of manufacturing and I think also in terms of your purchasing. This is not the most function-forward wristwatch. I'm going to say that for sure. I mean, it's not that accurate. The lume is not great. The lugs are fixed, making it a little harder to use your normal strap with, and it's a pretty basic movement. I mean, horologically speaking, this is not the most amazing thing out there. It's kind of fine, right? It's not good, but it's too expensive to be fine if you're just thinking about the movement and you're just thinking about this as a functional tool. And honestly, if this watch looked like every other watch, I wouldn't even contemplate it at this price point. It just doesn't make a lot of sense in that regard. Where this watch stands out, though, and what makes it, I think, a great choice for a number of people is going to be that design, right? There is not a lot like this out there in the watch world, right? And certainly not at this kind of a price point. And the design, I think, is more than enough to carry the day. This has been beautifully graphic designed in a very, very nice way. I've got my little gripes, but honestly, it is very, very attractive. And I think it's something that even somebody with a 50 or 60 watch collection, which, by the way, is a thing, do not get into watches, even if you've got a massive collection, you could probably still enjoy this, and you probably don't have anything exactly like this one in it already. Yeah, sure, there are places they can improve. The lume is a problem that needs fixed, and I really do hope they take the time to get that up to snuff in the future, because it's a major downside for some, and I'd love to see this product stick around. Not because it's crucial, but because the price is too high to be under-delivering in anything. Personally, I will admit I'm very torn here, and I think this comes down to my inner split between being a gear geek on one side and a fashion blogger on the other one, right? As a gear geek, the accuracy, the lume thing drive me a little crazy, right? I have to take it off overnight, which I don't like, and the price just doesn't impress me very much. But it looks damn good, and I found myself wearing it purely because of that. This is not going to be my only watch by any stretch of the imagination, but it's nice it's a neat option to have around on a day that I'm feeling a little extra fashion bloggery, right? And it is entirely different from anything else in my collection. So ultimately, to me at least, the question is pretty much entirely aesthetic. If you don't love the design, this is a very easy thing for you. This is a hard pass. It does not deliver enough horologically, functionally for the pricing to make you choose it over something else if you don't love this design. If you are not head over heels with this or one of the variants, absolutely don't think twice. It's not for you. But that said, if you do love that design, then you're probably going to love this watch, even at that price offer. And chances are, you were sold, honestly, if you love this design, chances are you were sold the minute you saw the thumbnail here. And all I've really been doing in this review is giving you various reasons to pick one up. So anyways, that's kind of where I land with this guy, is that functionally, but in terms of aesthetics, in terms of design, this is really cool. And that's where it's going to come down to. If you love it, you love it. If you don't love it, you don't love it. And at the end of the day, I think only you will be able to tell whether you want to get down in the trenches with this bad boy right here. So, anyways, hope this has been interesting to you and that you have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.